Dear students, welcome to another week of a very special course, EC 6960028, based on Lean Canvas for Invention. I am your facilitator for this week, which is designed particularly on the components of the LCI for business and market landscape analysis. Let's move on further and see what do we need to learn in this week related to your research and invention processes. Well, I'm sure the Dr. Cynthia First and others have already introduced you with the concept of this LCI, which is termed as Lean Canvas for Invention. But I would like to tell you a small story which may interest you, but at the same time will also make your concept very clear with respect to the need of learning this course that will ultimately polish your research process. It will be leading to the invention that will be having higher chances to get commercialized in future. So learning this concept of Lean Canvas for Invention would help you ultimately to come up an invention with larger potential to get commercialized. Now you can see this Lean Canvas of Invention, though it is visible on a single canvas or on a single sheet, but it is divided on 11 components. These 11 components start with the first component termed as problem identification, followed up by a second component that is about literature search, followed up by existing solutions, market landscape, and novelty. Then from this novelty, you're coming down to the research question, then to research methodology, key resources, funding, team capacities, and research outcome. Though as I said earlier, that it looks on a single sheet, but this canvas is derived as an outcome of a postdoctoral study that I was privileged enough to be working with Dr. Cynthia First. When I was studying or doing this postdoctorate with Dr. Cynthia First, we were thinking of an idea how to really make it possible that the inventors who are thinking of an inventions would have a larger chances to get commercialized in future. For that, I was given a place at TVC, known as Technology and Venture Commercialization at University of Utah. And when I was sitting in the office of TVC, I was observing that how different academic inventors, when they visit TVCs, how do they interact with the technology managers sitting at the University of Utah? The technology managers at TVC, along with two other teams that includes managers for helping our academic inventors in terms of writing their patents, in terms of submitting their patents to the USPTO, and also another team that was looking to the entrepreneurship side, looking to the viability of that technology, which can be commercialized in the future, and looking towards the potential of converting that technology into a startup. I was observing their interactions, the interaction of all these three teams sitting at the TVC with the academic inventors when they were coming to them for the invention disclosures. I interacted with these managers and I asked them that what kind of question do you really demand from an academic inventor when they are coming to you with their inventions? You trust me, they gave me a list of 101 questions. Because when I was sitting with the members of a team that was facilitating the academic inventors in terms of writing and submitting the patents to the USPTO, they were asking questions which are related to whether an academic inventor ever read any patent, whether they had an idea of prior search, whether they know how many patents have already get published when in their field of their studies. Several other questions that were related to the patents. The second team, which was for the technology managers, they were again looking to the entire process. Every service, what they can offer to the academic inventors when they are coming up with their invention disclosures, until looking at how viable it is for the market and whether there would be some kind of people available outside the University of Utah who would like to really commercialize this technology. And again, they had different questions. And the third team that was facilitating the entrepreneurial process of this whole technology management, they were also asking different questions. They were asking what kind of problem your technology is solving. What are your target audience? Who could be your customers? To whom you are intending to sell your product or your technologies? So several questions. I started to list down all these questions. As I mentioned earlier, there were like 101 questions. So those 101 questions, when an academic inventor is visiting the TVC, the technology managers and others are asking them. It seems quite not very feasible that how can an academic inventor answer all these questions? Of course, gradually, not in a single meeting, but how can all these questions be answered? And maybe there is a possibility that few of those very important parameters have already been missed out by the academic inventor. It means that the academic inventor must be having list of all these questions available with them before they are coming for the invention disclosures. Now just giving them a list of 101 questions on a sheet of a paper and then demanding an academic inventor that you do come up with the answer of all these questions is again not feasible. So what is important? Important is that there must be a process. There must be a system. There must be a framework. That framework can help those academic inventors to move on into the research process gradually. And while moving on into that research process, gradually also answering most of the relevant questions which managers at the TVC would be demanding them in the future. That would allow them to look up to the variety of the resources as a literature review for their work, which may not be limited only to the research articles, but would also extend and move on towards the patent and also towards the business reports, which are available to represent and do or perform the market analysis for those academic inventors. So what in fact has been done in this one sheet of lean canvas for invention, that all these 101 questions were clustered under these 11 thematic areas. And for all these 11 thematic areas, certain questions have already been written on this canvas. Certain questions has been written in a form of checklists that are associated with each component of the LCI, and certain questions will be answered with the help of hands-on activities that is again designed for every distinct component of the LCI. So let us understand the norm, or let us understand the flow in which this LCI works. This LCI would start from the problem identification, which I am sure that you have already learned from Dr. Cynthia first. She has talked about the problem that you are intending to solve through your future invention. At the same time, she has offered you 5W activities so that you can go dig down and explore what kind of problem you are intending to solve. Then after more couple of lectures, you have also learned from Donna that literature search should not be limited to your research articles only. Rather, patent as a huge information available must also be capitalized when you are moving on into the journey of your invention. She has discussed with you how to really explore those patents, how to see who are their owners, who are the inventors, who are the assignees, what are the chances of getting that patent commercialized, whether it has only been granted or has been licensed too. So all this information I'm expecting that you already learned in your previous classes. So having said this, I must say that you have learned certain question that the component of problem identification is demanding from an academic inventor. You have seen the checklist available for problem identification, and you have also adopted a couple of the hands-on activities that were given to you, and you have responded to those in a form of assignments. So first component of the LCI, which is talked about the problem identification, followed up by the literature search, where you were in a good position to look to your research articles and at the same time also explore the patent data. So in today's topic, what we will be talking about? We'll be talking about the third component. The third component of the LCI, that is asking us to look for existing solutions in the market. So those existing solutions, again, you need to see or access through some databases which are available through the Marriott library, and that would help you further to understand that how industry is moving forward, what companies are offering, what existing solutions are there, and then gradually moving on. Well, that's followed up by the market landscape. Market landscape also asks us certain questions, and it also asks us to look up to the items of the checklist and then some hands-on activities. But in today's section, my focus would be to work with you on the existing solutions and also some portion to be touched from the component 5 of the LCI, which is for the novelty. What we will look up into these two components today, yes, of course, we will be discussing in this entire section or in this entire presentation. That we'll also have an opportunity to discuss upon these different available components when I'll be interacting with you in the classroom. So let's move on further, and let me share with you that again I was privileged enough to taught that course with Dr. Cynthia first 3 times. Well, we have organized a course in such a way that for the very first time I taught that course to the students of water resources, water relevant resources. There was a funded project of a USAID, and USAID funded project was for certain technologies, and they were working with the university in Pakistan, which is Mehran University of Engineering Technology, from where I belong. So there was some center established, and those centers were trying to solve the water related problems. So I taught that course first time to those students who are trying to solve the problems relevant to the water scarcity, water quality, and some other issues. Then as you can see on your screen, I had a chance to teach this course with Dr. First to a multidisciplinary engineering student. And those engineering students were from the electrical engineering and at the same time from civil engineering. So we taught them the course again, and they really enjoyed it, and at the end they were of an opinion that of course this course has a potential to learn for those future inventions which will have a more chances to get commercialized and maybe converted into startup companies. And then I also taught that course at TVC to certain teams of teachers who are intending to go on for funding, whether from National Science Foundation or from other funding approving bodies. So delivering that course at University of Utah 3 times, then followed up by delivering that course at my university, which is Mehran University of Engineering and Technology. And there again I had a chance to teach and interact with multidisciplinary students. And those multidisciplinary students in fact belong to different engineering fields that includes electrical, civil, mechanical, electronics, computers, telecommunication, even textile. So it was a quite multidisciplinary environment where we were interacting with each other, and we try to bring these different disciplines even together in order to look for certain problems and certain solutions which can be solved by combining these technologies together. So that was about sharing a small story behind this LCI and what at the moment myself and Dr. First are doing. We are further processing that course. We are further trying to polish the content of that course, and in this process again I have been uploading my videos onto the YouTube channel, which I suggest you all to have a look to that channel with the name of Arabella Bhutto, and then you can also subscribe that channel. So when you'll be doing it, I'm looking forward that as gradually I'll be uploading different videos into that channel, you'll have an access to them all. Moving on further, let us see that how we move on into this LCI journey. Now this LCI journey, as you know, that it has started with the problem identification that you have already done. So I'm expecting that by this class, when we will be together, you will be having your keywords ready, because you must have used those keywords for the literature search. You must have used those keywords when you are exploring different related patents with respect to your inventions. And even you will be using those same keywords when we will be moving on further with the exploration of certain reports related to business dynamics. Let me give you a tip here. Let me suggest you that whenever you choose different keywords for your research or for your inventions, you must have those keywords rotating around 3 clusters. Now these 3 clusters would help you in fact to look for 3 different points. You need to understand first that what problem you are intending to solve. So one of your keyword must be mentioning about a problem that you are intending to solve. The second cluster of the word could revolve around the existing solutions or existing technologies through which you can solve this problem that you have already explored or identified through the LCI component 1. And the third cluster of words, I would suggest you to must move around on the context of application. Let us understand, what do you mean by problem? What do you mean by solution? What do we mean by technology? What do you mean by context of application? With the help of certain examples. Suppose any one of you is trying to solve a problem which is relevant to the energy efficiency. Then that's a problem that you are intending to solve. Maybe whatever the energy utilization is there, it may not be utilized very effectively. And you may be thinking of certain system, of certain processes through which the efficiency of energy utilization may be enhanced. So the problem or the keyword that you are intending to look up for are relevant with the energy efficiency. Maybe someone from you would like to work on a generation of clean power because you feel that the available power is not clean. We know that there are different sources of power nowadays. We have solar systems available, we have wind systems available, we have fossil fuel systems available, but maybe you would like to come up with any other option. Maybe you would like to generate more of a clean power. So your problem would be related to the generation of clean power. As an example, maybe your problem is about predicting the future needs of power. Maybe you are intending to come up with more advanced technologies And because of those advanced technologies, the requirement of energy and the power may be enhanced in future. We know we talk about 4G, 5G, even people are talking about 6G nowadays. So when you've been moving gradually with these generations of the cellular technologies or of the mobile technologies, you'll be in a need of very high power and very high energy. But at the same time, you need to make it sure that it's been effectively or efficiently utilized. So several problems could be there. But along with these problems, there may be an example which is related to the safety of electric workers. Maybe any one of you would like to look up to a problem which is relevant to the hazardous condition through which the electrical workers are going through. So all these could be considered just as an example of the problem around which you will be establishing your keyword search. So I'm expecting that each one of you already have that keyword that talks about the problem that you are intending to solve. Let us learn from different solutions or different technologies which are available through which these problems can be solved. Now we know that we are not going to come up maybe an extraordinary invention which has never been designed. Well, you will be having a quite small duration for your degree programs, and within that duration of your degree program, of course, you need to qualify, of course, you need to do your research, and you need to come up with your invention. So some solutions are already there through which the problem that we have just discussed could already be solved. But you are thinking in a different perspective to bring different parameters, to bring different features, to bring different dimension in these existing solutions so that your invention will come into being. Some of the solutions, maybe you've been talking about maintaining and updating generators. So maybe energy efficiency has been jeopardized because the system who are the sources of energy has not been properly maintained. So maybe you have to think of certain other prototypes. You may be thinking of certain other protocols through which the maintenance and updating of those power generators may be enhanced. So what are the existing solutions through which this thing has already been happening? You may be talking about some sustainable practices that are available there even today through which generation of clean power would become possible. And then you are intending to further polish it, further bring a bit more changes into those sustainable practices to even make it more sustainable. So your solution may be start looking for those sustainable practices which exist today, and from those existing things, how you can further bring certain improvements in them. One of the solutions could be related to the smart grids, because smart grids have the capacity to go for future predictions. You can look to them, you can study them, you can analyze data from them, and you can maybe come up with future predictions. So what are again the existing solutions which revolve around to the practices being adopted or to the technologies being adopted at the smart grids? Your work may be revolving around the Occupation Safety and Health Administration standards. Because we've been talking about the safety of electric workers, solutions are already there. But there may be a possibility that something further is required to be enhanced in these standards in order to make it sure that the safety of the electrical workers should not be compromised. So in order to answer the problems that you have explored earlier, you need to look up to the existing solutions or existing technologies through which these problems are being solved today. And then I was mentioning to you about the context of application. So your search, your keyword search must also have this context of application. Where would you like to apply your future invention? Maybe you are trying to solve the issue of energy efficiency at Merritt Library at University of Utah. Maybe you are trying to generate a clean power through sustainable practices at University of Utah. Maybe you would like to predict future power needs through smart grids that may be applied or may be utilized by the nanotechnology labs at University of Utah. Or maybe you have been talking to convert your entire Salt Lake City as a smart city, and you are trying to come up with a feasibility, energy efficiency feasibility in order to convert Salt Lake City into a smart city. So whatever you have been looking forward as a problem, or what you have been looking forward in terms of solution or technologies, you need to see particularly in which context you would like to apply. Now the context may not be the physical boundaries. The context could be the industry in which you would like to work with. The context could be you would like to work for aircraft industry. You would like to work for automotive industry. You would like to work for education industry. It could be anything. So the application or the context of application of your future invention would further polish your keyword search and would further help you to think of a technology through which you can really solve the real world practical problem. So I would be suggesting you that when we'll be interacting with each other in the classroom, you'll be having all the information with you that is regarding the problem you are intending to solve. Of course, the existing solutions which are already available there, or maybe a technologies through which that problems have already been solved, and the context of application where you are thinking that your invention would be much more beneficial and efficient. So if we just see as an example, you can see we've been talking about generating a clean power through sustainable practices at University of Utah. And now you can see if you will pick and choose these words or select them as your keyword search, gradually in fact you are also polishing down the title of your research proposal, the name of your future invention. So make it sure that your keyword search is quite polished by the time when you'll be interacting with each other, because it has also helped you out while you've been going through the process of literature search, when you've been exploring the research articles through different databases, and when you are also looking for the patents through USP2 website or WIPO website or other sources, maybe a Google patent itself. So let us move on further, and let me tell you here that in your classroom session, we will be doing a discussion number 1 on these 3 basic questions, which are not very different from whatever we have discussed today at the moment. I would love to listen from you all that what is the problem that you are intending to solve with the help of your future invention. So in that discussion, we'll be starting with the problem that you will be discussing, that's a real world practical problem and it really needs a solution today. Then again, discussion number 1, we will be talking about that what are the existing solutions available? Which existing solution you feel is feasible in order to solve the problem that you have identified. And then finally, in discussion number 1, we'll be talking about which industry you choose to apply your solution in. So see, these 3 questions are not different from the table we have just seen. It is all about a keyword search and polishing those keyword search around these 3 clusters. The problem you are intending to solve, the existing solutions which are available today through which the problem that you have highlighted can be solved, and of course, which industry or context of application you are interested to apply your application or your invention in future. So in upcoming class, hopefully we'll be doing discussion based on these 3 questions that allows you or enables you to look for the problem that you are intending to solve, the existing solutions which are already available with us today, and also the industry where you would like to apply your future invention. So this is all about discussion number 1. Let us move on further and then look up to this LCI and emphasizing on that what two parameters, what major components we will be discussing in our today's class. So as I mentioned already that there is a norm within LCI to move on component by component as it has been shown in the flow of that Z direction. And because problem identification literature such has already been done, I will be touching upon the existing solutions and the novelty parameter. For the market landscape, again, it's the same norm. It will be asking you certain questions, it will be offering you certain checklists, it will be asking you to work on certain hands-on activities so that your idea will get polished further. But for today's session, my emphasis would be on existing solution component and the component of the novelty. So let us start with the norm of the LCI with this third component which asks us about the existing solution. I said this norm of the LCI would first ask you a couple of questions and then it will offer you a checklist and it will allow you to try to answer all the questions of these checklists. And while you will be going through this process of answering these checklist items, in fact you will be writing down different passages for your research proposal. And of course you cannot write down the passages of your research proposals unless you do not do the depth of study with the help of articles, with the help of patents, and again with the help of business reports that you will be learning from where you can explore. So what question does this component of the LCI asks from us? Well, the very first question you have already answered in your discussion number 1. And then ask you what are the existing solutions available in the market today. So if there is a problem related to the energy efficiency, what kind of solutions are already available through which the issue of energy efficiency can be solved, if there is any? So what are the existing solutions in a form of products and in the form of services which are being offered by different companies that are working in the market? How costly they are, maybe it's another parameter on which we will be studying something in future. But today what we'll be looking forward for are the existing solutions and existing technologies through which the problems that you have highlighted in your study could be solved. Then there is one very important question that this component asks you, and in fact it allows you to look up for a gap. The gap that will open up your ideas to think of some different options, some different features that will make your invention distinct or novel from the existing inventions. And this we can also explore when we will do a bit more depth of a study of existing solutions. Not only in terms of seeing them, that what they're offering, but also seeing them from a perspective that even if solutions do exist, why still do you feel that the real world practical problem is still unsolved? Or if I just read that statement for you, it asks you that why do existing solutions fail to solve the real world practical problem? See, it's a very interesting question. At the one side, we are looking for the problems. At the other side, we are looking for existing solutions. But the thing is, if existing solutions are already there, why still do you feel that the problems remain unsolved? It means there's some limitations. It means there's some kind of shortfalls. They are there in the existing solutions, and because of these shortfalls or those limitations, maybe the problem you have highlighted today has not been solved fully. So this will lead us to question number 3 of the existing solutions component that asks you about what are the limitations of the existing solutions. And these two questions, question number 2 and question number 3, in fact open up a venue for exploring a gap in the existing solutions. And once you are in a position to understand the gaps in the existing solution, you may be thinking of your future invention through which those gaps can be bridged. And of course, if you can bridge those gaps, it means you are further enhancing the existing solutions in such a way that the problem that you have highlighted earlier can now be solved with your invention. So how interesting it is, isn't that? So what do you need to do, of course, is to look for existing solutions in the market through which the problem you have highlighted could be solved. You need to also see in more depth that what is there in these existing solutions and what is in fact not there in those existing solutions, and that became a reason of not solving the problem in its full spirit. And then what are those limitations? Of course, you need to dig them down. So it's more of like a gap analysis, and that gap analysis would lead you further to think of an idea of your future invention. Moving on further, that now this component of the LCI is supported with an existing LCI checklist number 3, because it's a third component. So if the component third, it would get some assistance from LCI checklist number 3. Now, as I was mentioning it to you earlier, that then you will start checking the boxes in this checklist. On the right hand side of your screen, what you will be doing, you will be start writing down different passages of your proposal too. So what you will be doing, in fact, you will be start looking and reading the checklist items one by one, and you will be trying to answer the different items and writing down different passages, the answers related to the questions or the items being raised in LCI checklist number 3. So what is the item number 1 of the LCI checklist 3? Item number 1 of the LCI checklist 3 asks you to list down listing of solutions of the real world practical problems which are already available in the market. So see, this first item is not very different from the question of our discussion number 1, and even from the question that we are answering with the help of 3 questions of the existing solution component. So first item that you will answer, you will start listing down what are different solutions available, what kind of solutions are available through which the problem that you have identified can be solved. Once you will be able to list down all these solutions, of course, by exploring the literature, you can easily check a box in front of that statement or in front of that item. Then you can move on further, and when you move on further to item number 2 of this LCI checklist number 3, you will be answering, or you will be looking or exploring the items in order to answer this second statement. And the second statement asks you limitations of the existing solutions and resources behind failing to exactly solve the real world practical problem. So suppose you have a solution with you, and then when you've been dig down in the depth of that solution, you will try to look up to the features. You will try to understand, in fact, that the solution is there, but why this solution, in fact, is not fully solving the problem. So what features maybe have been compromised or may not have been considered by the companies who are already offering their inventions. So then you start talking about the limitation of every solution that you have explored already into item number 1. And then if you can really dig down, if you can really find out those limitations, the gap that may be bridged by your future inventions would be very clear in front of you. While going on into the exploration of your solution, my suggestion to you not to limit yourself to a single industry. for which you are intending to come up with an invention. Why? Because there is a possibility that the solution that you are looking within the context of industry may be available into some another industry. So item number 3 in fact asks you to explore similar kind of problems and similar kind of solution beyond the single industry. Let us try to understand with a simple example. What do you mean by industry here? Suppose in the automobile industry there is an issue in brake system, the braking system of the cars, the brake system. Suppose there is little issue, suppose there is some problem which is there in the brake system of the automobile vehicles. You've been looking, you're trying to solve that problem by looking to different solutions. But why to only look solutions within the automobile industry? You can even go beyond automobile industry because brake systems are already there into the railway industry too. The brake systems are also available in the aircraft industry too. So maybe you could have found a very strong solution from other industries and just replicating with some kind of modifications in the existing solutions, you may invent something for the automobile industry. So when you've been looking for the solutions, when you're really interested to have an idea through which the problem that you have identified could be solved, look beyond single industry. Moving on then further to item number 4 of the checklist 3 asks you to connect these solutions with the patents that you have already explored in your previous component. So patents which are associated with the existing solutions and their market status. I'm sure when you've been looking and going through the patent literature, you may have found that few of the patents have become obsolete. Few of the patents may have been granted and few of the patents even get licenses. And once they are licensed, then they are in position to get commercialized and then making money out of those patents. It's an intellectual property. So the inventors can gain money, the monetary benefits from that intellectual property. But of course, for that it needs to get commercialized. So from those patents, in fact, I'm sure that when you're looking to your patents data, you must have seen to whom that has been assigned. It could have been assigned to inventor or it could have been assigned to company. And if it had been assigned to a company, it means companies are already commercializing those patents. They're already starting making money out of it. So connecting those solutions to the patents could really lead you directly to those companies who are offering those technologies in the market. So what is required to be done, of course, is to connect those solutions that you have explored through which the problem that you have identified can be solved. Need to be connected to the patent literature available. So you need to look up to the patents which are associated with the existing solutions and of course to their market status. And the market status would be whether it has become obsolete, whether it has been commercialized, whether today it has been commercializing. So you need to look up to the market status too. And then you need to list down those companies who in fact have licensed these patents and who are making money out of it by commercializing these technologies or these inventions. And of course they've been related to what? For existing solutions. Because they're offering these existing solutions and these existing solutions have a patent in its foundation. And that patent as an intellectual property is allowing these companies to make money out of it. And then finally, you have to look up to some justification. Because when you start writing down and start answering all these statements of this checklist and we start checking all the boxes in front of these statements, in the final box, in the final section, you will be giving up certain justifications. You will be talking about that whatever the gap you found in the existing solutions can be bridged with your proposed invention that you are intending to launch in future. So justification behind how do you feel that whatever the limitation that you found in the existing solutions can be bridged with your future invention that you are intending to come up with. So when you'll be in a position to answer all these questions of LCI checklist number 3, in fact, you will be in a position to answer all the questions that the existing solutions component of the LCI is asking us, and also the question that we were looking into the discussion number 1 session. Now, from where you can get this information? Well, I would say you are lucky enough to have a University of Utah ID. And University of Utah, through the Merit Library, have already in access to larger number of databases. And those databases are not only for the research articles or for the patents, but at the same time, they're allowing you to look up to the data or information or reports that are relevant to different industries and that are also relevant to different company profiles. A larger number of databases are available to which you have an access to the Merit Library. So these different databases, which are sometimes called as open databases or sometimes called as proprietary databases. What do we mean by proprietary databases? Means that of course somebody has to pay to get that knowledge accessible through these databases. And Merit Library is already paying for those databases. So being a student of University of Utah, you have an access to all those reports, which you can look and find through different databases. And these databases include what? You can see that different names are written here. It may include PubMed, and PubMed are more about the technologies relevant to the medical or medicines. You can also look up to IBIS World. You can also look up to different databases, for example, CAS Science Finder, for example, Market Research, for example, DNB Hoover, for example, Global Data PLC, and some others. So all this information, you can see it's clearly written at the below section of this LCI checklist that will further allow you to go and even physically visit the Merit Library, because these reports are published and available there in a printed form. But at the same time, there is an access online to all these reports. To see this in more depth, now that's in fact a poster which is designed by University of Utah at Merit Library, of course. And that Merit Library organized this entire information of these databases in a poster which I am sharing with you. And that classified different databases. If you are interested to look up to the background information which is relevant to the industry, you have 3 databases depicted there. You can see IBIS World is there. You can see Intellect is there. You can see different information, different databases available. Even the links are also available here in this poster, so you can directly access those links. So if you have to get an information and that is related to the industry, I would suggest you to go and have a look to the database which is IBIS World, because it will allow you to explore in more depth about the industry relevant information, any industry that you're working in. For example, as I said, it could be automobile industry, it could be aircraft industry, it could be transportation, logistics, any industry that you are interested to work in with. So you'll get more detailed information through these databases which are very clearly listed down. Of course, there's a rule to follow these databases. And rule number 1 would be to come up with an idea, to come up with a problem, to think of certain invention that you would like to work in future. You need to interact with different people at Merit Library. You need to interact with different people in the classrooms, with your classmates, with your teachers, with your colleagues. So you need to interact with them to learn more about these resources which are available. And then of course, with the help of all these databases which are written there, you can have an access to wonderful reports. And those wonderful reports in depth talks about the industry in which you are interested in, but not only till the level of industry, it goes on till the level of market and company. for the company profile, even if you are interested in one company to work up with. Suppose Tesla. Suppose Tesla company you are interested to have a look to the existing solutions of Tesla. Then what? Then you can even find the reports who are talking about the SWOT analysis of Tesla. What do you mean by SWOT? SWOT means it's strength, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. And that SWOT analysis allows you to look up to the product portfolio, to the company portfolio, where they feel by themselves that this is our strength, but this is our weakness. Now you can see when they talk about weaknesses, it means there's still a room to progress further. There's always a room for improvement. So these reports, in fact, would help you to dig down further. Where are the weaknesses? Where are the gaps? And how can you capitalize on these gaps with the help of your future inventions? So different databases are written here that includes BCC Research, that include Factiva, that talk about PitchBook, and many more, and many more. So what is required for you? Required for you to have an access to this poster, which is available through Merit Library. It's a consolidated version, and you can directly jump to these databases by following the alphabetic order of different databases which are there available onto the website of Merit Library. Follow these databases to download reports that will help you to look up to the company portfolios and look up to the market and industrial growth. Industrial growth in such a way that whatever the industry you are intending to come up with their invention for, you need to make it sure that industry after today, means if you are looking for the forecasting, maybe today we have been 2022, so you are forecasting till 2030, you are forecasting till 2050. So what is forecast for these industry to remain progressive or not? These reports also talk about it. So these reports will tell you or inform you that, alright, features are there, features have certain limitations, strengths are there, weaknesses are there, but in addition to looking to these feature parameters with more of like an engineering perspective, you also need to look up to the health of an industry in future. Suppose you are intending to work on an industry which itself is not progressive in the future, there is very less chance that the invention that you will come up into the future will get commercialized. So you need to make it sure that the industry you are intending to come up a solution with should itself be progressive. Maybe after 5 years, maybe after 10 years, or maybe after 25 years. The industry should remain progressive in order to make it sure that the invention that you are intending to come up with will have more potential to get commercialized. So my suggestion to you to have a look to all these databases and then talk about these databases in our future class too. But of course, these databases would only be offering you or you will be looking for solutions or problems through these databases that is of your interest, that is very close to your keyword search. You're not going to find everything. You have your keywords readily available with you. You have your problem ready, you have your solution, existing solutions ready, you have the context of application clearly written with you. So once you have all these things with you, that would be your keywords when you've been exploring those databases in more depth. Then moving on further, what do you need to do? Well, you need to just go, log in the Merit Library, and then after logging in, you need to search with the help of your keywords, download those reports, explore them in more depth, and talk about your related technology or talk about your related invention. Once you have done that, or once you have looked to the technical parameters of the existing solutions, and once you are successful in exploring the gaps in the features of these technical parameters, we are also looking to one more important indicator. What is that one more important indicator we are talking about? Well, we call it a CAGR value. CAGR in fact is a short form for compound annual growth rate, or in short, as I said, it's a CAGR. Now this CAGR helps us to measure the health of an industry with which you are intending to work in future. And this information would be available to you again through these databases, which I said whether it could be open or it's proprietary. If you've been starting only simply with a Google search, and you can, or from these open or proprietary databases that include the market search or that include the IBIS world, what do you need to do? You need to look up for a global market. Global market which is related to your invention. And what is that global market for you? Let's suppose we are intending to look up to the global market related to the electrical engineering services. What I did, I used these keywords, which is electrical engineering services, with edit keyword of a global market. And when I explored, I wanted to find out that what is a chance of this industry to flourish in future. And I got the score for CAGR, a value for CAGR. There's a way of understanding that CAGR value. Now this CAGR value, let me tell you, has a formula running behind it, but I will not be sharing with you the formula because we're not interested in formula. We are not going to perform these calculations. Rather, what we are interested in at the moment from a business landscape is to learn the value. If that value of CAGR is more than 5%, there's a higher chance that the industry you are intending to solve a problem of will be progressive in future. But if unfortunately that CAGR value turns out to be smaller than 5%, then what would happen? Well, this industry is not flourishing in future. And for such kind of industries, I would stop you not to invent anything. Because see, there the chances of your invention to get commercialized would automatically be narrowed down. And why it would be narrowed down? Well, of course, it will be narrowed down because even that industry is not flourishing. So if that industry is not flourishing, there's a less chance that your invention will get commercialized. So when I was doing this keyword search, that keyword search in fact lead me to the CAGR value of 8.1% for electrical engineering services. That's a clear-cut indication that the industry that we will be working upon with, that is related to the electrical engineering services, will be progressive in future. The value that I got, it was as a worth of that industry. And the worth of that industry in 2021 was $991.38 billion. But it was also predicted that in 2022, the value of that industry would be $1071.59 billion. So it's quite a progressive industry, you can see. So it's going up. From 991, it's going to 1071. But even if the prediction can be done for 2025, for 2030 and 2050, you'll be having a CAGR value, will be moving on further away from 5%. So it could be 8%, it could be 9%, it could be 10%. Even there are certain industries where the CAGR value turns out to be 32%, 84%. And it shows a very extremely progressive markets. And any invention that you are intending to come up with for these kind of markets will be commercialized, will definitely get commercialized. So along with the technical parameters that you have already explored, maybe in terms of existing solutions that you already see in our previous slides, you also need to make it sure that the CAGR value should be more than 5%. As bigger that value is from the 5%, as progressive that market is. And as progressive that market is, as there are more chances that your future invention will get commercialized. You can also have a look to this Google image, and Google image also help us understanding the progress. And even you can list down, you can have a look to the prominent companies which are relevant to the industry you are intending to work with. So these are different techniques through which We can get certain information from the open and proprietary databases, but at the same time, we can also have a look to the progress of the future industries. Again, for example, I was just looking to the report for 2020 electrical engineering services market, and they was talking about worldwide industry review forecast from 2015 to 2025. So you can see these forecasts are very important for us to understand because we are talking about the commercialization of our invention. We're talking about the business dynamics which are relevant to our future inventions. So this information you can got from different databases because you have an access to those databases. So the reports you can download, moving around your keywords that you have already designed. Download those reports and read those reports rigorously. So when you read those reports, you will be in a position to understand what is really going on into that industry and what is the future forecast related to the business dynamics of the market and to the industry you are intending to work up with through your future inventions, of course. You can download such reports. Suppose I was looking to the research and market as a website, and that allows me to have an access to a couple of the reports related, of course, to the global engineering, electrical engineering services. But again, as I was mentioning it to you earlier, where I was interested, along with the technical parameters, I was interested to see the value of the Skegger. And I found that if it's saying it's 8.1%, it gives me quite a confidence that the inventions that would be in future for this particular industry will get more chances of commercialization. So these are the information that you have to look up into that report along with the technical parameters, along with the engineering parameters in which you have been looking for certain gaps. And those gaps you are intending to fill or bridge with the help of your future inventions. And I was mentioning it to you earlier that you can also do it with the help of simple Google images. These simple Google images also gives us these pie charts, these bar charts, these graphs that will further help us to understand that what is the health of an industry we are working in. What is the health of an industry? What is the chances of your own invention to get commercialized in the future? You need to dig down it till the level of company. Because see, when we are saying that yes, there are existing solutions, it means these existing solutions are being offered by some companies that are in the business at the moment. So suppose there is a company who are offering certain solutions, certain innovative and creative solutions. What you need to do is to look up to the products and services being offered by those companies because their websites are very detailed enough. The websites talk about the portfolio they have. The website talk about the range of products and the services they are offering. So if I have a larger number of products and services being offered by those companies, you need to look up into the depth of that product portfolios. You need to look up to the depth of those service portfolios. You need to look up to the strength and weaknesses of those companies through those reports and then also visiting the websites of those companies. So in order to have your literature search more polished, you have now variety of knowledge resources available. You have open and proprietary databases. You have details of associated patents. You have details of associated case studies of those companies. If you just go to Harvard Business Review, from there you can exactly download the studies of companies. So cases of these companies, you may find case of this particular company that you're seeing on your screen. And when they be talking about the case of a company, they may be talking about strengths and weaknesses of those companies. At the same time, they may be talking about the opportunities and threats these companies are facing. Maybe they've been talking about certain systems which are running into these companies. So you need to look up, you need to pick and choose the company names, and then from those company names, you need to visit their websites, and from their website, you also need to download their case studies. And you need to read those case studies too. So starting from the identification of your keyword search that revolves around a problem you are intending to solve, that revolves around the existing solutions available today and the context of application, where you are intending to apply your future invention, moving around all these keywords, you need to open those databases, you need to look up to the existing solutions, till the technical parameters, till the CAGR value, till the name of the companies, till the product and services they are offering, till the gaps to be identified in these products and services, and download the case studies of those companies. So these whole lot of information is available to you when you're trying to see it from the perspective of business dynamics. Moving on further, you can even start with simple Google search by asking your Google to give you a list of companies or maybe a top 10 companies who are working somehow into the discipline of electrical engineering services. And you can see there's the huge names there. Boeing is there, Tesla is there, Google is there, Apple is there. So all of them are there. Maybe you are intending to come up with certain invention which can further upgrade the products and services being offered by these giant companies. So go and dig down, explore in more depth, look up for solutions which are there, and then deficiencies or limitation of these solutions in solving a problem that you have already identified with the help of your keyword search. I will upload this matrix in your assignment section. And in this assignment section, you will see that this, which is known as a market matrix, is allowing you to consolidate all the information that we have gathered so far. This market matrix, in fact, allows you to list down the name of products and services available there as an existing solutions to solve the problem. Also allows you to look up to the name of companies which are offering these products and services in the market, and at the same time would allow you to go and see in depth of features that are being proposed or being offered by these products and services, and also try to think of certain limitations which has been there, and because of those limitations the problem has not been solved. So starting with the questions of existing solution component, giving it a support of checklist number 3, and then using this hand-on activity in a form of market matrix would help you to consolidate all the information that we have been talking about. What will be the sources of information from where you can gather this information that we have also learned? From the databases in the merit library, from the company's website, from the case studies of these companies, maybe through Harvard Business Review, and even through the Google image and a simple Google search. All of these different sources of information would help you to gather the information and then consolidate this information in a form of this market matrix. Once your market matrix is ready, you have in fact answered all the questions that I was discussing with you, whether it was under the heading of discussion number 1, whether it was a question related to the existing solution component, whether it were 6 or 7 items that we have just seen in LCI checklist number 3. So all could be answered if you will be in a position to fill in this market matrix. So that would be your first assignment for this week program. In the discussion 1, we'll talk about your polished keywords, a problem, a solution, and the context of application. And this market matrix, in fact, will be your assignment number 1. Let's move on further. And now let's talk about the theme for your discussion number 2 in the classroom. Now see, when you are saying that you found a limitation and now you are in better position to talk about your future invention at the level of technical parameters or at the level of features that you are thinking that your future invention can solve, you can now also associate a value with it. What you mean by value here is, let us try to first understand and then we'll talk about this discussion question. See, we are interacting with each other through social medias very frequently nowadays. We have a Facebook, we have a WhatsApp, we have Skype, we have Signal, several other applications. And through these applications, what we can do as an end users, we can talk to each other very easily. Now see, when a company is offering us these mobile applications, suppose WhatsApp, or social media applications, suppose Instagram, suppose Facebook, suppose all of this, what they are offering us as a product and a service. To the companies, in fact, that's a product or a service. But to you and me as an end user, we perceive a value in this product and service. And what is the value for us in this product and services? It is so convenient for us to share videos, our photographs, our images, our text in a fraction of a second in any part of the world. Communication has become so easy, suppose after the WhatsApp application. So through WhatsApp, just as a fraction of a second, you can share your video with any of your relative, with any of your friend, with any of your family member. So to you and me, this WhatsApp, which is a product or a service, have certain value for us. And that value is maybe convenience in communication, maybe connection that we like to establish, maybe an integration that these applications are allowing us to go through. So whatever the feature parameters are there, whatever the product and service is there, for end user or for a consumer, we always connect it with certain value. So after understanding what you mean by value, which could be associated with the product and service, I would ask you to talk about or discuss under this discussion number 2 section of our classroom, to connect your future invention to a certain value that your end user may have once they will have an access to your technology or your invention. At this stage, it might be very difficult for you to connect it with your future invention to certain values that you may offer to the end users. But again, there are certain techniques through which at least we can understand today that what kind of values are there and how these values may be perceived by the end users when your invention will be available in the future. So the discussion number 2 that we'll be having in our classroom, that will talk about if you can overcome the limitations that we've already highlighted under discussion number 1 of this classroom. You have talked about the limitations, you have filled up the market matrix, and there you have a list of limitations, suppose, and certain features that you are proposing that your invention may come up with. What value, what kind of value an end user can gain from your invention? So we'll be answering, if you can overcome these limitations, which of the values you can add in the lives of your end users. See, if an end user or a consumer do not see any value in your invention, the chances of its getting commercialized is very narrow. So you need to make it sure that whatever you are intending to sell to your customers, to your end users, you can connect it to a value that your end user may perceive out of it. Now let us understand in more depth, what do we really mean by these values? And what different kind of values could be there which a customer may see it from their perspective. Now there's a study being done, and in that study it has been said that there are only 30 values that anyone could have from any invention or any technology that exists today. or even services or from the products that are available today in the market. And those 30 values can be categorized in 4 different clusters. This is known a value pyramid for market, and that value pyramid for market is for businesses to consumers, means from larger businesses to consumers like you and me. Now you can see this pyramid is moving from bottom to top. And from bottom to top, there are 30 elements of values which have been categorized under 4 big headings. And those 4 big headings says whether it could be elements relevant to the functionality of the products and services, whether it could be relevant to the it could be relevant to some emotional values or well-being values. It could have been connected to some life-changing parameters. So there are different clusters, and these different clusters, these different elements have been classified. Well, I cannot talk about all these 30 elements in today's video because it will be a very long video. But what I have done, I have uploaded separate video in order to understand all these value pyramids, all these value elements one by one with certain examples. There's another video for it, and you can have a look to that video if you really need to understand every element of this value pyramid with the help of certain examples. Suppose if I again talk about that WhatsApp application, WhatsApp, then you can see in the functional elements on a very right extreme of that pyramid, you can see under functional elements, there is one element that talks about connect. And connect means again, see the value that you and me are perceiving from that WhatsApp is it's quite easy to get connected to the friends and family. So to you and me, the value that WhatsApp is offering us is about a connection. So there are 30 elements into that value pyramid, and those 30 elements are discussed one by one in more depth with the help of certain example, and the video is already uploaded in in this week section. So kindly have a look to it. That will further make your ideas about value pyramid more clear. So what is required to be done? You need to understand these different elements of the value, and after understanding these different elements of value, you need to understand how your future invention could be connected to any one of these elements. I'm not asking you to understand all those 30 elements and try to say that your future invention would be offering everything. Well, it's merely impossible. What you need to do is to remain very focused. And what do you need to do is to pick only one element from these 30, which could be connect, which could be related to motivation, which could be related to self-actualization, which could be connected to improving quality, which could be improving, it could be improving is saving time, which could be related to even making money. So from all these different values which are written there, value elements which are written into this pyramid, you need to just pick and choose one. I would say one is sufficient. Well, if you see your invention can be connected to 2, marvelous. But even if you can see only one value, that your product or service or your invention will be offering to the end users in future, it would be a great contribution. Because to me as the end user, or to you or some other colleagues of yours, as the consumers, they need to connect it to certain value. For us, it must carry a value, because once we realize that it has a value, we'll be more comfortable in paying money against that value that we are going to have. So I would suggest you to also have a detailed video that has already been uploaded for this particular value pyramid, and that is very extensive video, 15 to 20 minutes, where the speaker is talking about different values, different elements, and then connecting it with the help of different examples. Once you will be able to understand these elements of the value pyramid, you also need to have a look to 3 different items that LCI checklist 5 is asking us. As I said, it's a norm for the LCI that for every component there is a question, and for every component there is a checklist, and for every component there is a hands-on activity. So the checklist items that this component of novelty is asking you as an academic inventor is, first it asks you about key features of the proposed invention and how those key features that you have proposed into the market matrix could be linked up to the value, any one value that you see from this value pyramid or from those 30 elements, any one element which is coming under whether functional, emotional, life-changing or social impact, under any cluster, under any category. You need to pick and choose just one. Just one, and then try to connect it to the features that you are proposing through your future invention. Once you are in that position, of course, you need to write down a paragraph for it, and then you can go for the next item that asks you for mapping between identified problem and novelty feature of proposed invention. See, your market matrix is ready with you. So from your market matrix, you have talked about the problem that you have already identified, from existing solutions, and then identifying different features into existing solution, how you can solve that problem, and also to which of the novelty feature from those 30 parameters. Means from those 30 parameters, if you can pick that my application or my future invention would help the end users to get connected as one of the value pyramid, as one of the element of that value pyramid, it would add and identify a novelty feature of your invention. You'll be saying my invention is different because it is offering this value to the end users. So through this value pyramid, you are in fact also reaching to the novelty parameter, to the significance of your research, and to the significance and a very distinct feature of your of your invention that you are intending to come up in the future. And then finally you have to answer, you need to discuss. As I said that in the very first, when you are looking into the checklist number 3, in checklist number 3, the last point was asking you to write down certain justification that how you can really solve a problem with your future invention. Now again you need to come up with a discussion. And their discussion would be on whether proposed invention claims for similarities with other inventions, work, or could offer a critique that lead to the novelty feature. Now see, when you've been talking about the novelty features, it may not be a very radical kind of invention or innovation. It may be an extension of existing product. That is also possible. Means rather what you can do, you can add something to the existing solution. So if you have been adding something to existing solution, you're not changing the solution overall, but rather you're improving your solution. Your invention is adding more extensions to the existing solutions. So if it's more extensions of the existing solutions, it means you've been talking about similarities. Your invention will be claiming about similarities with the existing solutions. But if you are trying or if you are proposing there a big change, a radical change in the existing solutions, then you may be talking about certain critique. Then you may be offering certain critiques by saying that my solution that I'm intending to come up with in the future is in fact very radically different from the existing solutions. And because it's radically different from the existing solution, it has these novelty parameters. And from these novelty parameters, I am intending to come up with a future invention to solve the real world practical problem which I've highlighted during my first component. So once this whole information is clear in front of you, you need to do another assignment from this class. And this assignment would be connecting your points of invention with the value pyramid elements. So now you can see in this template which is in front of you, it has again these 4 same clusters and they have all the elements written there. But as I mentioned to you already, you need not to have a larger number of elements for your future invention. You could even talk about a single value, a single element of value pyramid that can connect to your future invention. So what you need to do as an assignment number 2 is to take up this template and then try to connect the value that you are perceiving, that your future invention may offer to the end user. And then of course writing about it in this table. So whatever we have seen in today's session, let me conclude it for you and let me tell you again in short, in summary, that what I shared with you and what would be my expectation in the discussion class. So what do you need to do? In fact, you need to develop discussions on two themes. Discussion number one, where you need to polish your old keywords related to the problem, to the existing solutions, and to the context of application. And for that, of course, you need to create your market matrix. So what do you need to do? You need to prepare a list of existing solutions, and then you need to explore the limitations of those existing solutions. And then what do you need to do? You need to also look up to the discussion number two, where you've been trying to connect your invention with the element of value pyramid. So the end user who will be using your technology or your invention can perceive certain value out of it. And for that, again, there will be an assignment number two, where you've been using that value table, and into that value table you will be talking about just one. I would suggest you just one. Do not try to do everything. Focus down, and as much as focused you would be, as much as more commercializable your invention would be in future. So two discussion questions or sessions and two assignments, one related to market matrix, other related to the value elements, will be expected after this week will be done. So during the class, we will be discussing about your final keywords revolving around problem, key existing solutions, and industry, the development of the market matrix, the limitations that you are trying to find out in the existing solutions, the value that you think your invention may offer to the end users, and of course that you'll be able to do it when you'll be answering the question that the component of the LCI are demanding from you with the help of the items or the statements which are there in the checklist. I hope that we have learned these very two important components of the LCI today. It will help us to understand the business dynamics and market landscape related to your future inventions. So I must stop here and allow you to have a look to that video, learn from it, try to develop your themes regarding discussion 1 and discussion 2, and then working on your assignments. I'm looking forward for our meeting in the classroom, and I hope we'll be able to discuss at a very high level with very much fruitful discussion I'm expecting from you all, and we'll be in a position to understand the values and at the same time the limitations that your future invention can handle in order to solve the real world practical problem. So by that, I would like to wish you all a very good luck for this special course that will help you to come up with a real invention, having much more chances to get commercialized in future. By the time, stay blessed and stay safe. Thank you indeed.